Welcome to the CSBP Fertilisers Grow Better Podcast, sharing knowledge with growers on leading crop nutrition, sustainable agriculture and other issues impacting the agricultural industry.
G'day everyone, welcome to the CSBP Grow Better Podcast. My name's Grey Johnston and I'm delighted to be joined by Nichola Cassidy, Account Manager Nutrition and Sales from the Northam area, to talk about tissue testing today. G'day Nichola.
How are you, Grey? Thanks for having me.
Very well, thank you. Hope all things are going well in your world. Now, as I said, we're talking plant sampling, tissue testing today, but this is the first time we've had you on the show. So please, can you just, as is our custom, introduce yourselves to our listenership and tell us a bit about your career?
Yeah, thanks very much for that. So I've been with CSBP coming up to nearly 5.5 years. I started back in January 2015 and started doing a bit of prac work when I was at uni with them, and then went into a field research role on the trials team. And I nearly did 4 seasons there, and then have recently moved into the sales role and have taken on the role of area manager for the Northam area. So I cover a bit of York, a bit of 2J, Northam, and then mainly out to Darren and Wild Catcham area. So quite a broad area. It's really good, and I liking my growers so far, and having a good time.
That's great. Really pleased to hear it, and some extensive experience there on the trials team with Ryan and James and Justin and the crew. I guess before we talk plant sampling, as we know, it's our 100th year of trials this year, and you contributed to 4 of those. Any reflections on your period with the team?
Yeah, for sure. I absolutely just loved every minute in the trials team. I loved just the diversity in the role, and every day was pretty different and in different locations, and just learnt so much about nutrition, having started knowing next to nothing really, just fresh out of uni. And so different trials on different types of nutrition and different soil types, different strategies. And then what was really cool is we had trials from as north as Binnu down to all the way down to Esperance, and worked with some really cool growers there, and just had just pretty much the elite customers we had we had our trials there, and so just learning off of them as well too, which was really cool. And that's been so good coming into this role now and having that kind of background and learning so much off of Ryan as well. And really grateful for that experience, because I feel a bit more ahead of now in my job, coming from instead of just fresh. So really good. Loved it.
That's wonderful. And look, a similar sentiment to what Luigi shared when he was on the episode a couple of weeks ago, who of course, Luigi also started with the team, and a number of your peers in the sales and account management team came up through the trials team. And we've got some great ag officers in the team now, who we also hope will be able to broaden out into other areas of CSBP over their career.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Now, our theme for today's discussion is plant sampling. Can you tell us the basics? I'm sure most people out there listening to the show will know what it is and why we think it's important, but we're here to talk about it. So what is it, and why do you see it having value for our growers?
For me, tissue testing is really important. When I first learnt about that, I guess in my first season of trials, so we used to, once we do the trial, it's really good practice to tissue test all of your treatments, every single plot during the season, because it is a great way of showing right then what is actually happening in the plant. So it's like giving you a live score on where you're at. So how good's that? You can check your crop from just doing that. So, and all you're doing is you just take a few plants, and I can explain a bit more in depth later, and then you can send them off to our CSBP lab, and you can basically get an update of where everything is going, and then from there we as account managers interpret that, and to give you a bit of a heads up on how it's tracking. Based off, especially like if you want to know what's going on with your nitrogen, then we give you interpret the nitrate level. So that's kind of like fuel in the tank. So to me, it's really important, and I think it's getting more important than soil testing even, because you can see what's even happening in the soil just from a tissue test. So yeah. And there's a few other reasons.
No, that's good. So we'll expand on those. But I'm interested in your comment that it's more important than soil testing, because we talk a lot about soil testing on this show, and we know in CSBP that the number of soil tests that get done kind of dwarfs the number of plant tests that get done. So you reckon the number of plant tests will be increasing?
Yeah, I think so, Grey, for sure. There's a few things in soil tests that we can't pick up, or we sort of can, but it is not as accurate as a tissue test, like trace elements. I think you're a lot more accurate to get it out of the tissue test, and also then you can sort of map where your trace element deficiencies are and have them as like hotspots. So say if manganese, we want to test for that in a cereal or a lupin crop, we can kind of map out where those deficiencies are, and then for next season go in and apply manganese or put a bit of compound manganese, in your compound to set it up for next season. So I think a tissue test is a lot more accurate way to give you a live score of what's going on of all the suite of nutrients rather than just your soil test. And it's a great way as well to know how your nitrogen is going, because usually when we're taking a soil test, we might not have had summer rain or something like that, so we don't really know the nitrogen in the profile. Whereas like this season, for example, prime example, hardly any summer rain in my sort of area, so all our soil test results, they were really low in ammonium N, really low nitrate levels, and organic carbons were terribly low as well. But that might not give you a great indicator. So when you have get a tissue test done, it'll just give you a live score. You'll be able to see what's going on.
So it sounds like you get that live score for this season, and you still have an opportunity, I guess, to correct some nutrient deficiencies or take some calculated risks as it applies to nitrogen application. Yes. That also then sets you up to make some educated decisions about next season as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. So there's a few, we can correct some nutrients, and then there's one in particular we cannot correct, and we do definitely need the soil test, and that's phosphorus. So we can't catch that up in season. But potassium and nitrogen and sulfur and traces, we definitely can. Although we, do encourage you to put your potassium down the tube initially, but, you can still catch up with that. And if we take a tissue test and it looks like a part of the paddock is deficient, we can then go in and recommend a bit of potash on that sort of area, or we can use, and we can all use Decipher Ag to do this. Us as account managers, we're all trained in it, and we can just map out, we can do a variable rate map if you're that keen. And we can, patch that out, or we can patch out some sulfur based on your tissue test. That's quite good too. And I do recommend as well placing a plant sample on where you have done a soil test. There's a few reasons why you do a plant sample. One is if you're sort of noticing that there is an issue in the paddock, you're sort of just cruising past and you think, that's a bit different. Or you want to just get a gauge on what everything's like in season off your soil sample. So you might place them in the spots that you have done a soil test, which is easy to do as an account manager if you're doing the soil plan with your customer. If a grower has done a paddock scale trials, and we might have put on double the amount of nitrogen or something like that, and we want to just test how that's tracking, we can test the different treatments. That's pretty cool too, to see what nitrogen's left in the tank, or see if if it's sufficient, and then the NIL is low, we can really gauge that. So that's pretty cool.
And I guess they were the kind of effects you were looking to measure when you were taking the plant samples of each strip when you were running the trials program?
Yeah, for sure. So in trials we would test every plot, and that was just a really good habit to get into. So when I moved into this role as well, I said let's do some tissue tests, let's get into it. So it helps you recognise what is a really good looking plant, which is nice and green and healthy and rich, versus a NIL that's a bit yellow and maybe weak, and help me as well learn some of the symptoms of different deficiencies. So potassium deficiency symptom, you get that real spear tipping, versus a nitrogen deficiency, you might be real lime green and a bit weaker looking. But another thing is to say is that with the tissue test, you might not already have those symptoms. Like generally it's a bit too late. You know, by the time you see that symptom, it's already, your plant is already suffering.
Right. Too late to correct the deficiency, or?
Yeah. The plant is pretty agile, so it will catch up. But yeah, it's you know, if your crop is looking pretty good and you just wanted to check it, there are no symptoms, and you take some plants and there actually is a deficiency, then that's a pretty cool way in that tissue testing can do that for you, so you're not already, you know, dropping down the curve.
So you've given us a pretty comprehensive explanation there of all the different reasons we might think about tissue testing, and you touched a little bit on the process there, and you touched also a little bit on how the CSBP account management team can help growers out executing that process. Can you dive a little bit deeper into how the process works? What are the steps that we follow when we're planning and executing plant sampling and tissue testing for a grower?
Yeah, absolutely. So we follow the process. We've got to make sure we've got the 4 R's are all ready to go first. That we're selecting a tissue testing site. It's in the right place. We are taking the plants or the part of the plant at the right growth stage. We're taking the right part of the plant, and we're also getting the right sample size. So we want to get enough for our lab to use in the testing. So we got to so make sure all those 4 R's are correct, and then we want to go in. Like growers can definitely do this. It's pretty easy. As account managers, we've got bags and postie bags and all the kits pretty much, but you've just got to have a clean pair of secateurs, wear some gloves. If you're cruising around in your ute, just walk out in a zigzag fashion across about the paddock, anywhere 50 metres or so, and just take a few plants, and we want to put it in a representative area of the paddock. If that's what if you wanted to just get a gauge on what the paddock's looking like, and then depends on what plant stage or what growth stage the plant is at as to how many plants you'd take. So if it's early tillering, you'd need a few more plants, like 20 or 20 to 30, and then if it's getting a bit bigger, then 15 or so. But early tillering's pretty ideal stage to take a few plants to check it out. And then just snip the little roots off and keep it all nice and clean. Pop them in the bag, chuck it in the postie bag that's provided, and whack it in the mail, and it'll get to the lab. And hopefully, it depends on the lab. The wait days maybe like 5 days or so, 5 days to a week, and then it's up to us, your account manager, to interpret them, and then we'll give you a buzz and discuss the next step.
And I assume it makes the whole process simpler if you plan your sites in Decipher to begin with. You mentioned that before.
Yeah, yep. So you can do like ad hoc sampling. Like if you wanted to do them, you can get the app and chuck the location in the app. That's pretty straightforward. Or you can get us to plan the job. Like I was saying before, you can revisit soil test sites. In the app, or you can simply just give us a call and we'll come out and show you how to do it. Fairly straightforward.
Sounds pretty easy. Call your account manager and get them to sort it out for you.
Yeah.
Hopefully we haven't thrown our account management team under the bus with that one, but it sounds like there's a lot of value to be created in plant sampling. Can you give us some examples maybe of where you've seen some of that value created, where you've actually seen some real benefit from doing the tissue testing process? Yeah,
absolutely. Last year we had, there was probably 2 scenarios that kind of stick out to me. I had a customer putting a lot of N out on a particular part of his farm, and we just weren't really seeing it was obviously a decent year last year. We had a lot of rain, and we weren't really sort of seeing it jump up compared to the other part of his farm, and they were pretty similar soil types. So we didn't really know what was going on. So I thought, we'll take some plants and see what was going on. Going back to that, no, obvious symptoms there before. So we, took the plants. It was a cereal crop, and they came back from the lab, and it was, low in potassium. And we, know that there's quite an important interaction between potassium and nitrogen. So the K was holding it back. So we put out grower put out potash out on the paddock, and then that was almost good as new. It looked pretty nice compared to the other part of the farm where so that was pretty cool. And then another scenario was again, it looked like a part of the paddock, a different customer's, it looked like there was possibly like a disease or the customer just wasn't sure. He'd got sort of at the same time he got his agronomist to take a few plants for disease, so special kind of disease testing with the Ag Department, and then got me to take some as well, run them through our lab, because the plants look pretty sick, and it turned out to be some zinc deficiency, which is pretty unusual. It was on some virgin soil type, so prone to trace elements, but something we couldn't really pick up in the soil test. So the tissue test was it was bang on to do that.
Some really good examples. And you touched before on the range of nutrients that tissue testing is relevant for diagnosing issues. What about the range of crop types? Can we sample all our different crop types?
Pretty much. Yep. So I've got experience in cereals. So like canola and obviously lupins and cereal. Yep. And also your pastures as well. You can definitely we can sample it all.
But canola, there's some relevance in plant sampling canola and lupins in addition to the cereals.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely, yep. And then if once it gets to a certain growth stage, like if it gets too late, then you can always just do YEBS, which is sort of youngest emerged blade. Which is you do that when the crop gets a bit more advanced. But probably the ideal time is to get it around that tillering time. You can do it all. Our lab does it all. Yep.
That's great. And look, it sounds like you're very enthusiastic to get out and get plant sampling. What else is happening in your world? How's your swimming career going?
It's okay. It's good. I'm out of season at the moment. I did a couple swims this year. I always like to join in the Port to Pub and the Roto swim. Keeps me busy during summer. Yeah.
And any coaching?
Yes. I'm a coach of the York Swimming Club. The local pool, and the kids are hilarious. So that's good fun. Yep.
That's good. Any superstars in the mix?
Yeah, well, maybe the team actually did really well this year. We won our C grade division at Country Pennants, which was held in Northam. So pretty proud of them.
Great to hear, Nichola. Thank you for sharing all of that insight in relation to some strategies for tissue testing and how to get the process done. But from what I can hear, it sounds like your account managers are waiting at the end of the phone, eager to get out in the paddock. Yeah,
that's it. We're always keen to get on farm during the year and help out as much as you can.
Good one. Thank you, Nichola, and thank you all out there in CSBP Grow Better Podcast world. That's all we got for the day. Join us next time to hear more about what's happening in the world of CSBP fertilisers, and of course jump on our social feeds at CSBP Fertilisers on all your favourite social platforms. For now, that's it. I've been Grey Johnston. Thank you, Nichola, Cassidy. See you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thanks for tuning into another episode of the CSBP Grow Better Podcast. For more information about CSBP, please visit csbp-fertilisers.com.au or connect with us on social media at CSBP Fertilisers on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and LinkedIn.